Hello.
Hey guys.
We thought that now that we're properly tired from Xterra, South Africa, we would give a little race recap while all of the emotions are still fresh and all the soreness is still in our feet from running on sand and rocks and in streams. And I even bumped my knee in the stream when I fell on a rock swimming on the run. More, more on that later. All right, so we're here for Racecation. We're actually doing two events. So this was our first event. We'll share more about our second event, which starts on Wednesday. And we wanted to come to South Africa because we loved it last year. We loved the Xterra race, the course, the people. And it was just a great little fitness boost for us to be able to train outside in warm weather. So we wanted to come back again. So going into this race, we haven't done any type of taper or race specific training. We just used Friday more as an active recovery day to kind of shake out some of the fatigue. But throughout this week, we've done about 13 plus hours of training. So it's been a pretty big week of exercising. Um, with mountain biking, for anybody who doesn't have experience with it, it's very beneficial to have experience on the course that you're going to be riding on, whether it's Xterra or a mountain bike race. Same thing with gravel as well. And knowing what line to take, and what that means is that some sections have specific areas where there's going to be a hard section, a more difficult line to take, an easier line to take, a smoother line, a line that might set you up. And line kind of means like a path, a way forward. And so we rode the course 3 times, 2 full course recons of 17 miles, and the miles go pretty slow in mountain biking, so it's about 2 hours. And then we did kind of some key sections on Friday as our kind of last recon. And it, for me, for myself, it really took those 3 times to feel more confident. I was making a lot of stumbles and it not making good decisions with how I was riding on the first day, and then I got better the second time. And then because it rained, the course was a little bit different in that the sandy areas weren't as sandy, but that also meant that other areas were a little bit different. But by Friday, I felt a lot better. So being on the course helps tremendously.
Yeah, and this is something that if you follow any of the like a professional cross country mountain biking or any mountain biking races, that's what the professionals do too. They go and they recount the course. They stop and they walk the lines. They look which line will be the fastest line, which line will set you up for the next feature that's coming. So it's not just about it right here in this moment. I need to take this line. You also need to look forward and see, okay, but there is something else coming right after, and I need to set up for that thing. So it's not like you said that you stumble that you don't have the skills. It's just like you riding in the new territory. You're not familiar with it yet, so you need to familiarize yourself with that course. Take a look at some of these features, some of the lines, and see which one is the best for you, which one you can go the fastest, pretty much.
Yeah. Or the safest.
Mhm.
All right. So I slept horrible last night. I've been sleeping so great here, like amazingly great. I just shut my eyes. We don't have 4 cats walking all over us and a senior chihuahua downstairs who has a wet diaper that we need to go rush and let out in the morning. Oh, it's been just heaven. We miss our crew, but it's been great sleeping here. But I slept horrible last night. Like I felt like I didn't even sleep, but thankfully, all those prior nights of good sleep helped me out. So I was fine in the morning. I still felt somewhat rested, even though I felt like I didn't sleep. I was very nervous. I think for me, I still have a little bit of this imposter syndrome that I feel like I don't belong because I still feel new to the sport and I'm trying to get more confident with my abilities that I feel like I need to, that feel like I belong.
But
And
you
that's
do belong.
it's just
You
something
just
that
prove it again.
it's just thank you. And it's just something I think other people can relate to. Whenever you do a new sport, this is my sixth Xterra race, but I still feel really new. So everything is still very different for me because every race is different. And also with off-road racing, it's not like triathlon in that you're not out there doing your own race in your own head. You're working with other people that they might pass you or you might pass them or
They may be in your way.
they may be in your way. You're drafting off that you can draft off them. So there's a lot more to it than just being fit or having the skills, and that to me is just still new, and it's something that I'm still working on. I'm okay once the race starts, but it's definitely something that's in my head. So when we woke up this morning, we did have I had a bit of a concern because I saw some pictures of people in their wetsuits, and we did not bring our wetsuits because it was not wetsuit legal last year. We just thought there's no way it's going to be wetsuit legal, but in typical triathlete fashion, people were warming up with their wetsuits, but thankfully when we got there, they announced that it was non-wetsuit legal. And in Xterra races, you can only race with what you have on. So when it's not wetsuit legal, you can't wear a swim skin covering your kit unless you're going to wear it for the rest of the race. So when we left, we woke
Yeah,
up.
because they go by the kind of like a short course rules, like the ITU rules, and you cannot wear any swim skin or anything. So it's either wetsuit legal, so you can wear the wetsuit, or it's not, and then you just wear your kit.
Yeah.
Which our kits are great, but they are not designed for swimming really. So you can definitely feel the drag, the penalty in the swim.
Yeah.
For this type of races, probably would be ideal to have those like the ITU style suits, which are more suitable for swimming, biking, and running all together.
Yeah. So pretty much the material is more similar to like a swim skin, but it fits like a one-piece kit without any pockets. So we left and sleeves. So we woke up about 5, and then we left about 6:30. We got to the race venue about 7, an hour before the race start. We had a good amount of time to set up our transition area, very big transition area, set up our stuff, and then did a little jog, went to the bathroom, and then Corel did a swim warm up in the water. And
which I got pretty cold after I get out because it was still kind of a little chilly in the morning.
It was in the 60s this morning.
So after I finished my swim warm up, and then it was still like 15 minutes to go, I start shivering pretty bad.
So lesson towel next time. Make sure you have a towel. So the race started at 8 o'clock. It was a mass start. The swim was 1 loop counterclockwise. There was 3 buoys out there, big pink buoys in the lake. The water was cool. It wasn't cold. It wasn't warm. It was a good temperature. But when we started, boy, I just felt horrible swimming. I felt like I was being dragged down. I felt like I didn't know how to swim. This was a mass start, probably.
Yeah, which was we don't do mass starts anymore, these days in triathlon. Yeah. So it was kind of cool to do the mass start again, with whatever it was, 200 something people, right?
Yeah.
But it was just a shock, like you jump in the water, and and the first thing you lift your head and you realize, like, holy crap, there's like a whole bunch of people ahead of us, like a lot of people. Like, how come they can swim so fast?
Yeah. And I got knocked at one point and I swallowed water, so I had to stop, and then that just got in my head and I'm like, this is just horrible. But I started to feel a little bit better, and then once I felt like I was passing people, then it kind of brought a little bit more confidence. I saw Corel and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm swimming as slow as Corel.
Me, the slow poke right here.
But in different terminology, I was just like, oh my gosh.
When I started to swim, and I just kind of like tried to do like the fast takeout speed, but soon after I start feeling like oh my gosh, it was too hard, and you start feeling almost like the arms are like a jello, and it's just like filled with lactate, which you don't really feel it that
Mm.
often in the half and full Ironman. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I need to find a way how to settle in, and it I did, and it was okay, but yeah, there are a lot of people here who can swim so much faster.
Yeah. And especially since most of our swimming is 2.4 miles, to swim 1,500 meters is just very different. I probably swam the same pace that I would have swam if I swam 2.4 miles. So I started to feel better towards the end, and that helped me out. And then once I got out of the water, I ran to the transition area. I put on my socks, which also served as kind of compression socks, that they were high Silka socks. And then I put on my mountain bike shoes. I put on my hydration vest, which is something that, or our backpack that we choose to wear just because it's a lot easier mountain biking to be able to grab a straw and take a
I mean,
few
you can
sips.
drink at any situation.
Right.
I usually drink in like some of those technical descents, and there's no way you can do that even
Yeah.
if you will be grabbing the bottle. So here you can focus on the technicality and handling the bike, and you can still taking full sips.
Yeah. And usually in these races, I just put my feet in my shoes and just kind of tighten the BOA to lock it. And then I continue to just change the BOA to tighten it more as I'm riding. So I try to be as quick as possible in the transition area. I had my sunglasses on my helmet, so that I could just put them on as I was riding. So I tried to be as quick as possible. As the race started on the bike. So the bike course has a little over 2,000 feet of climbing and 17 miles. So that's a lot of elevation gain. And
the climbs are very steep.
Yeah, so that's one thing with mountain biking, is that climbs tend to be very pitchy. They could be 17, 20% or more. So it takes a lot of power, a lot of force. And I was most nervous about the beginning section within the first 2 miles, because it kind of snakes its way up this mountain or this hill, and they're very tight switchbacks on very rocky and sandy.
It's super tight that you have to make a full U-turn basically.
Yeah.
So and you're making the U-turn in the very tight space.
Yeah, and that made me nervous because, first of all,
and it's uphill.
Yeah, you're with other people, and I was worried about being with other people. What if I make a mistake? What if that person makes a mistake, and then I make a mistake, and then I affect the person behind me? But everything worked out great, and I was really happy. And actually, I nailed those on Friday, so that gave me a lot more confidence with those turns. I had one girl who ended up being third right behind me on those switchbacks, and then she was gone. But throughout the race, I wasn't passed by any females that I can remember. And a few miles later, I hear a bell ringing, and then here comes Carell, and then he passed me. So that was really great to see him coming. But the course is it's very technical in that there's a lot of different features. There's a few sections that do have Jeep trails, which is pretty typical of Xterra races.
But it's so broken.
But
like a crater. So.
Yeah, so it really feels like if you just squeezed it together, it would be single track. You still have to be focused on the right line.
It's usually only like a one tiny line that you can take. Otherwise, you would get to the edge of the crater and you was like off the bike. So you have to like constantly keep scoping, like where do I need to go?
Yeah, and that was one thing that was really helpful with the recon the days that we did, because figuring out the best line to take. So yeah, I felt pretty good with my execution of the course. There's one big loop and then a shorter loop that's about 6 or 7 miles. And the big loop includes the rock garden, which was the rock garden is the most technical part of the course in terms of that there's lots of rocks, but I wouldn't say that it's the most difficult part of the course. There's difficulty throughout the entire course. But I felt really good. And anytime somebody was...
I would say for people who are not used to, they kind of got shocked. And then they've got scared and they didn't know how to ride it, and
Yeah.
then it can create some congestion.
Yeah, because there's a lot of very tight segments within that rock garden where you're going in between rocks, and there may be a rock where and then some sand that you have to go around. So definitely,
and it was all downhill.
Yeah, so it definitely takes some awareness and good skills. But I was really happy with how I maneuvered it. There was times throughout the whole race that there were some guys that needed to pass me, and I knew that they were coming. So when it was safe to do so, I would just scoot over. Sometimes I would unclip. Sometimes I would just soft pedal to let them pass me. But I have no problem letting people pass me. I'd rather them do their own thing, and then I can just focus on my own thing as well. Thankfully, I didn't really have anybody by me in the rock garden, just one person passed me, so I was able to just focus on that section myself. How was your race up until then?
Oh, I yeah, it was fine, and I enjoyed it. There were a few early on I had to pass a lot of people because my awesome swim, but it wasn't too bad, and for the most part, anytime I would yell, from behind, if I can go through, people let me go. The only different or the only part where they would not let me go, which was kind of frustrating, was in the rock garden, which I really enjoyed. And just yesterday, I set up my best time there, and I was like fifth overall from all the people based on Strava there, and I really enjoyed it. And today I was just kind of like slowly making my way down because there were a lot of people ahead, and nobody would just let you go. Which I can understand that they were just busy with trying to stay on the bike, but it only takes a split of second to just kind of like you almost you just kind of like move to the side, hit the brakes, in the no time, the other person go who is behind can go, and everybody's happier. Everybody can focus on themselves, like you said, and but that unfortunately didn't happen. But that was okay.
Yeah. And towards the end of the first loop, I linked up with two other girls. So I was really happy that I was able to ride with some other females. I really worked the sections that I felt I could gain the most time. So I wanted to be safe on any of the technical sections. I'm really working on my cornering and not braking too much and making sure that I have good body position. So I'm really working on that area. But I also try to really work the uphills. Anytime I go uphill, I try to push it. So I felt like that helped me kind of move up a little bit throughout the race. And then once we went back to the transition area, it was nice to get some cheers as we did a little loop around the transition area and then back out on the smaller loop. And I would say that the smaller loop, because you're more tired, there's steep inclines and a lot more tight, sandy descending. I really wanted to make sure that I did those sections well, but I felt like I rode very smoothly, which, as Corel says, which kind of your little saying.
Staying smooth is faster, than try to like ride jerky,
Yeah.
when you have to brake a lot.
Yeah.
So if you may feel like you may be going slightly slower, but staying smooth, and you are overall faster than if you just like a pedal stop.
Yeah. So I was really happy. There was one of the ladies ahead of me. There was a steep section with some rocks, and she and I've been there as well. I've made these mistakes where it's just like you're just so tired and you have to really push to get over it. And I could tell she just didn't have the momentum or the strength, and she just kind of fell over. But the girl ahead of me and then myself were coming, so I had to kind of slow down
in the steepest
part. The one girl went and I went, so I was really happy that I was able to do that. I didn't have any falls and no unclips. I was really happy with how I rode compared to last year. I rode a lot faster than I did last year. I also remember last year I was really tired by the end of the ride, and I felt like my endurance and my strength and my skills were a lot better this time around. So I ended up riding a little over 15 minutes faster than I did last year. So I was really happy about that.
Yeah, that's really great. And with the mountain biking, it's very different than when you ride on the road. If you get tired, you just slow down. But there's nothing worse that can happen. But in the mountain biking, you will be tired, and then there is this feature in your way that it's uphill and it requires a lot of effort, a lot of strength to get over, or you will fall like that lady did, right? So that's a big difference. And it's also what's really hard that after some of those really steep climbs, then comes the very technical descent. And to do the descent properly, you basically have to kind of like a squat on the bike. You drop the seat down, you squat down, and you constantly kind of like you are like on the springs. Well, if your legs are completely shot from that uphill that you just did, it's pretty difficult to do as well. So those downhills sometimes hurt, equally or even more than the uphill. So yeah, for me, I basically throughout the whole bike course, I was constantly moving and passing people, which was encouraging. But of course, it was requires a lot of strength and effort. But again, there were several segments where I knew that I can go so much faster in some of the technical descents. But unfortunately, I would hit another group of people that they would just kind of slowly make their way down, and it was kind of frustrating. And again, they would not let me go, so it is what it is. It's part of the game, and it's just kind of how it is. It's not like a open road where you can pass anytime you want. Here, you just have to kind of play with the others and with the situation. But yeah, just like you said, when I was finishing the bike, I was tired. But if they would say, okay, you have to do it all one more time, I would probably be, cool. I'll do it, and I will probably pass more people because they will get tired.
Yeah.
Right. So it was just kind of, and I was like, as I was in the moment, because you're so focused on everything, I totally forgot that I knew that I'm coming to the transition, and I totally forgot like, oh, I needed to, undo my feet from the shoes. So I did it in the very last moment, and then just quickly hop off the bike so I can make that dismount. But it was just like, oh, I forgot.
Yeah. I just unclipped and then ran my bike to my transition area, and I felt like I had a really good transition. I feel like I've really nailed my transitions over the years. I just had my trail shoes, and then I had my hat, which had my watch and my a flask and my race belt in it. So I just grabbed that and went on to exit the transition area. And I started running with the two other ladies that I had been biking with. One of them just ran away, and she was super fast. And then the other girl that was with me, she was kind of right ahead of me, which I really liked having her ahead of me because I was just watching her feet and kind of watching where she ran, and I would run right behind her. And then when we got to the first steep hill, I was able to pass her. And the hill was steep. It was long. It was rocky. Oh, I should also mention in that first part, there's a lot of sand, and it's deep sand. And I'm trying to put on my watch, and so you're like bouncing, and
like you want to make a step, but you just kind of like a slip.
Yeah.
Slip.
Yeah. So it's another whole nother skill and set of skills.
The whole run course is extremely technical. Probably one of the most technical runs we have done in any other Xterras.
Yeah. So it starts off with the sand, and then you go up hills with lots of loose rocks. And then you also have two sections that are like more single track running trails. We run over a lot of wooden bridges that just kind of are pieced together with some netting on
like
top.
Like a 4 inches, like a 2x4 or something like that. But the gaps between are also pretty big, so it's not like a smooth bridge. It's like, it's weird.
So lots of trail sections, then a hill, another trail section, and then we get to a downhill. And while you would think that a downhill would be great at this point, this is one of the gnarliest downhills because just like the bike, there's these craters where the road is just like going in and out, and there's big rocks, there's little rocks, there's loose rocks everywhere. So you're just trying to find the right place, and you're never running in the right place. You're just trying to make your way down. So a few miles went by, and then finally we got to like an actual gravel road, but it was like paved gravel. So we ran down that.
I didn't see anything paved there.
Well,
it was a gravel.
It was gravel.
Yeah.
But it was like concrete.
What you talking? Well, I don't know what race you did. There was no concrete on my course. It was
water.
It was proper gravel road. It was orange, and there was a huge puddle that you get your. That's kind of like considered a first water crossing because it was long.
It was orange, but but it felt smooth.
Yeah. Well, compared to what we just did, yeah.
It was paved.
Yeah, don't believe anything Marty says.
So then we got to our first water crossing, which was same thing last year. It was a big puddle in the middle of the road, probably about this deep. So feet got soaked at that point, but not to worry because once we finished this hill, went snaked down into the forest there, we got to our first real water crossing, which was up.
And, yeah, and it's not to cross it across. You go alongside a stream.
Yeah, so you're going from one, you're continuing, so the stream is running this way and you are also going that way.
Because we basically we enter the creek and exit on the same side of the creek.
Yeah. So the water was about up to my waist. There was times where I would miss a rock and the rocks were slippery, so I would fall and I hit my knee a few times. But last year I decided to kind of like swim my way through, like just kind of scoot my way. But this time I was a lot more strategic. The other girl that I had passed, she cruised through that. I have no idea how she did it so fast, and she ended up catching me by the end of the creek. What did you say? It was about 200 meters
Yeah, I don't know.
or 20 meters?
I don't know. I have no idea.
No, it wasn't 200
I didn't
meters.
say that. I said that last year it took us 2 minutes to do
Oh,
it.
2 minutes. Yeah, it wasn't 200 meters. That would be very long. Yeah, so it took about 2 minutes to go through. Then we got to what I think is one of my favorite parts, and it's my favorite type of trail. It just goes up and down, and there's lots of like hay and bridges and rocks, but it's got a nice flow to it. And then once we got out of that, getting closer to 4 miles, then got a little downhill, and then you've got these big climbs. So there was a lot of climbs on this loop that you do, which it was about 1.5 miles, and very steep climbs. I got passed by a few guys. At that point, I was able to break away from the girl behind me, but I didn't have to walk on any of the climbs, but it felt like I was walking because I was just kind of on my tiptoes, just kind of powering my way up. How'd you feel in that section?
No, it was extremely difficult, and I stated, as I was happy on the bike that nobody passed me, and I was passing people. That the typical kind of scenario for me in the road triathlon is that I usually make up ground on the run, and here it was a whole another story because running, technical trails is just still something that I'm trying to figure out, and I'm so used to like the response from the pavement and knowing how to run fast, and here it feels like the people are running so much faster. So I actually got passed by like 4 people throughout the run course. 2 of them were females, the first 2 females, and it's just like I was like, what do they do? How do they do it? Because they were running so extremely fast, which was awesome. It was really, really humbling for me, but also at the same time, it was so awesome to see that somebody has skills like that. But the whole run, as the run went on, I just felt like it was just getting extremely difficult, and my quads kind of were seizing up a little bit, and with all those uphills and all the like, it requires a lot of agility, when
Like,
yeah, you have to kind of you hop on certain spots where you can hop on, and then you can almost like make a steps to get up, and so when your legs are shot, there's not much agility there to do. So you can't really do these type of plyometrics anymore.
Yeah. How about your cramp?
Oh yeah, so when I enter the creek, and as I kind of try to move my leg to the resistance of the water, I kind of start feeling that cramp inside of my groin, which is pretty typical for me. It's where I have the labrum tear, and but this time I actually had something new that I've never tried before. It was like an anti-cramp. It looks like a packet, like a gel, but it's a juice. So and what it is basically it's supposed to kind of like trick your the neurons in your brain that it's just kind of I guess focus on that, and it kind of like trigger the nerve, so it should stop the cramp, and it kind of did. The taste was horrible. It was basically like a vinegar. I don't know what else. Some spice. Really strong spice. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. Like something that.
But you forgot about the cramp.
But the cramp kind of stopped, which is good. Yeah. And so yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
It goes fix a cramp or something like that.
Fix a cramp. Yeah. Yeah. So with about 1 mile and a half or a mile left to go. There was a new part of the course that we had never seen from last year, and pretty much they just, I think, took a machete and just went through the course and or went through the jungle and just found a course for us, made a course.
You're constantly stepping on a really soft, like a hay, whatever, like the stuff that is
pines
alongside the creeks.
Yeah. So it was a very slow section of the course, and then we got to another water crossing, and this water crossing, I was there by myself, so I was like, how deep is this? You're actually crossing it, and it went up to about my waist.
No, it must have been higher up because it went above my waist.
Okay, higher. Yeah. It was pretty high then. I was like, how?
Luckily for me, I have that female ahead of me, at that point, and I see her, and now all of a sudden she just disappears. Like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, you're right. It was pretty deep at that point. I just felt like, okay, and then you have to like kind of crawl yourself out of it because it's just kind of like a slope to get out. And then we got to another water crossing.
It's just more slippery,
it's like this piece of concrete that you just almost have to slide down on and then cross and then pull yourself back up. And then I kind of power walked my way.
I fell there, and there was a photographer, so I hope for some cool picture.
And then the last like almost mile or so was nearing the sand or the beach area.
On the side,
and so about half mile was on the beach area, which is very interesting because you're trying to focus on where to run that's not too sandy, but then you're also looking for the red arrows. There's blue on the bike and red on the run. Red arrows for kind of like help you directionally where to go. So I
can see it wasn't like a straight smooth beach. It was like waving.
So it's kind of like a scavenger hunt, like where's the next red arrow. But that section was actually really hard because at that point you're tired, you ran through water and sand, your feet are heavy, and so as I was nearing the finish, I was very happy to get there, but at the same time I also felt really good. I was happy that the run was finished because my quads were and my calves and everything was just tired. But I also felt really good. I felt strong when I crossed the finish line, and I ended up being the 5th female. I was either the 1st or 2nd amateur. I'm not sure about the lady ahead of me, the 4th place. And then because one of the elite ladies was in my age group and she was overall, that put me at 1st in my age group. So I had a very good day, but the best part of the day was that I improved. I improved my times from last year. I could feel the improvements. I feel like mountain biking is more of our hobby, something we do for fun. And so we don't spend a lot of time doing it. It's not our primary focus, but I'm really happy that the work that we've put in, and Corel's help as well, that I've been able to make these big improvements. I improved on my swim, my bike, and my run today. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah.
And how about you?
On the beach, I actually, once I get on the beach and I realized there are 2 more guys coming, I was like, oh my gosh, I will get passed by 2 more people. So I just basically tried to sprint as fast as sprint. It's like at that point, just like surviving, but I was able to hold them off, and I finished first in my age group, like 5 minutes. And I was 16th overall, got checked twice. So that was cool. And so one other thing I wanted to also mention is that, when you do these races abroad, you just have to accept that they may have slightly different rules or different ways how they do the races than you are used to, and it's okay. It's the way how they do it. So here, they basically there was one field, and they have some elite, not too many, but they have some elite, which is the professionals in the field, guys and females, and everybody else, and everybody starts together. And they also kind of did the results that they include everybody together. So if you are a pro, and you are a certain age, you technically can take that spot in the age group, although you are not age group, you are elite. So it's just, and they also only give they were really not a prizes, but they will get the recognition to only first place. So if we are so used to in states that everybody's getting medals, everybody's getting recognition, and calling top 5 in each age group, and here it was just basically all right, so we'll call, and they just like within 2 minutes they have everybody in on the podium, all the winners of all age group, females and males, take a picture, and you are done. So but it's okay. It's the way how they do things here, and over the years as we experience different countries, different regions, we just get to experience these different style of races, and it's all cool and exciting, I guess.
Yeah, because we had to wait a few hours after the race for the awards. We decided about 1 o'clock, the awards were at 2, to go for a little spin on the bike just to kill some time.
Spin means to go uphill and then bump the downhill.
Yeah, so we went back out on the course on the last part of the course, and actually it felt really good to just spin it out a little bit. We were in our regular clothes, so not cycling gear, just helmet, sunglasses, and our regular comfy clothes, or post-war
mountain bike shoes.
Yeah, and mountain bike shoes. And I was actually really happy with how that went, because I was tired, and mentally I had already given everything for the race, but with mountain biking you always have to be on. So I actually think it was really good to be in that tired state and to have to do some features that I had never done before, because we were reversing the course going up. And there were some pretty technical features that I had never done.
Uphill switchback with a bunch of rocks that you just have to put a lot of effort to.
A lot of effort. So that was good, and I felt like it was a really good way to end the day. All right, so Xterra South Africa, number 2, finished it off, had a great time, and highly recommend this event and this course if you love nature and swim, bike, run off-road. Okay, bye.
Cheers.